Well, hello and welcome to the wrap episode number 14. It is Thursday, October 20th, 2022. This is the show wrapping up all things Zwift from the last week racing, events, tech, fashion, etc. You name it, if it's Zwift and it's last week, we'll probably be talking about it. We're live on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Make sure to follow on all of those places, as well as Twitch. And if you want to download this as well, you can catch this as a podcast on all places that you can download or listen to podcasts. I'm Nathan Guerra, coming out of the US of A in Wisconsin. Anna Russel is somewhere in New Zealand that I still do not understand. Anna, how's it going for you this past week? You know, the topics of the show, Anna, today, it's going to be all about Zwift Racing League. We'll do a quick little update up front. We'll obviously have our fashion on the back end. We have a awesome guest that we had at the beginning of the Zwift Racing League round number 1. Cy Bradley is going to be on with us. If you haven't checked out Cy Bradley, make sure to just search YouTube, Cy Bradley, Zwift. It'll be super obvious. Does awesome recon, so we'll be checking out round number 2 and everything that's coming at us. But Anna, let's keep the front end of this quick because we've got a lot to go over. Essentially, we have a code word. Be quiet, Nathan. To move on to the most important things that you have all showed up for, which is Zwift Racing League. But Anna, what have you been up to for the last week?
Well, I will start with talking Zwift Racing League because anything else in the whole week was eclipsed by Team Riot's performance in the last race of the Zwift Racing League. Now, the show is going to be long because I'm going to talk about this for about an hour, I think, Nathan. That all good? Just a complete rundown, blow by blow.
I think you already did that in pre-show. Pre-show, she was just giddy as could be. I was like, why are you so happy today? What's happening? I mean, we already had your birthday. I sang for you one time. What more could you get?
My birthday was great. This might be better. I don't know. This was unreal. I think it goes to the core of Zwift Racing League is you race the same teams. You know, this has been going 3-4 years now. I remember before this, you didn't really have this right as much. Whereas now you start to know all the riders so well. You start to know when people might go. And so what we did is we just totally mixed things up and we just did things that we hadn't done really all season to catch people off guard. And it totally worked. For us, it was if we were second going into 2024, if we won the race, and
Team 2024, just everybody, Team 2024. Yeah. Virginia's Blue Ridge Team 2024 races against Anna, just so everybody knows.
And we knew that, if we won the whole round. So the whole team was so motivated. It was just one of those, it could have been going up against anybody. It was that the competition in our team drove us together and we all had a sole focus in mind and we all were pulling out some of our best power performances we've done over the whole season just because we were all on the same page. And we were all chatting throughout the whole race too. Like there were nice little bits in the middle where we were talking just about random things, but it was great. It was just this, what Riot does well is we've had the same team for 4 years. And even after the races, we stay on the call for sometimes up to an hour, just chatting about random things. So we've become really good friends. And I think it shows the same team for 4 years, you go out, you all get motivated and magic happens, right? And it just felt awesome. It was just, we're all on such a high. It was great. And like I was saying, there's no animosity. The teams, I was saying to the DS of Team 2024 after, competition means to strive together. And so we're setting our best power numbers because we want to win. And you only do that when you've got a solid competition happening. So yeah, it was fantastic. How was I could go on and on and on and on, but how was your week, Nathan?
Good, really good. Was racing. My finale for Zwift Racing League was pretty fun. We had a guest rider with Vegan Cyclist. Tyler Pierce jumped in with us and had a lot of fun. You can actually see his stream over on Twitch. He was streaming on Twitch actually as well at the same time, which was really cool to see a huge YouTuber come over and do some of his live streaming over within the Twitch community. And then last Saturday, I did my first lactate tolerance reps. You can go and watch what those are all about as far as coaching goes. If you don't know what those are, they're very interesting, and maybe sometime in the future we can talk about why those are some of the best kind of efforts you can possibly do for peaking for racing. I did those on Saturday, and then I just been kind of focused on like either things are really, really, really hard or things are super, super, super easy zone 2. So Sunday and Monday were just chill zone 2, but that's good. As far as like racing training goes, that's about it. My race, I jumped off the front a lot. I do not like two things. A lot of people think you break things apart in racing on Zwift in the hills. I agree with that. If there's a lot of discrepancy between the riders, if there's like a pretty big difference between ability levels within the category, if there's not, you break things apart on the flats. Speed, it absolutely rules. And I love the Fuego flats and the flat routes, like Volcano flat, Watopia flat, whatever it might be, specifically for those reasons. I like it if we put some bumps in there to tire legs out, but that's not where you're going to really make the breaks against people who are around your exact same ability level, unless you are extremely tactical about it. And so, yeah, that's why I like the Fuego flats. And so I just jumped off the front. So my whole plan was like, don't do the first sprint. I just didn't do this. I just sat in the wheels, used the speed, and then bam, orange numbers right off of the first sprint. And they let me go. Like they totally, and then I thought I'd get a couple with me. Nope. So then I was like, okay, well, here you are. Now you have to commit to what you've done. And I was like, let's see how far we can make it. And I got FAL over the first KOM, but and then I got caught so fast I thought I was gonna get dropped because they were coming like a freight train, right? But I was able to get back on and got a pretty good amount of points for the rest of the race. I just attacked over and over. Every time it got flat, I attacked. Anytime that it was flat, so it was fun.
So I like one of the things I realized that I switched up from what I've been doing this whole time is after our conversation about fastest through segment, and I went back and looked at teams who were winning and where their points were, and so much of it is fastest through segment. And I was like, why am I not focusing on that? I'm always doing the like glory shot of trying to get first across line. And I was like, actually, this time I'm just gonna like do fastest through segment. Like I call Christina, our teammate, the ninja, because I never see her the whole race really. And then suddenly she's like got 150 points at the end. I'm like, how did that happen? And so this time, every single segment, I was off the back, sometimes by like 1 or 2 seconds, because I was like, my 30-second power is fine. I can catch them back up. And then it's actually kind of nice because once I caught them back up, I'm like, oh, well, I just have to sit here and I've already won. And it was kind of nice. I think
you
I
just
got
follow wheels,
like,
right? Like then you just follow wheels and sprint, and you have
why
an
did I
extra
never do
second to
this?
work with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not
and
saying you should do what I did. See, we had already won the season, and I wanted to make it fun. Going off the front on Fuego flats for the FAL, only works if the rest of your team are good sprinters, right? Like I was going for the FAL for our team, while everybody else was going to grab some sprint points. That was, and we totally sag it. Like, it's track stand. I was off the back by 1 second as well on the Fuego Flats 7K. Like, so yeah, that's the way to go. That really is the way to go.
Well, one thing, that we did that worked really well, probably similar to you, is we had Christy who said, like, at the moment she doesn't have the top end speed, although she's pretty damn good. She didn't have the top end speed to sprint for it, so she was going early on every segment to pull everyone along and like entice them out while we just chilled at the back. So not only did we sort of had 2 strategies going at once, and I think we were getting like 4 in the top 6 for every FTS. So yeah, it was a strategy that worked. That was fun. It was a really good race.
And I think is a good idea to get that, to make that happen for sure.
And I think what we're seeing in chat as well is everyone agreed that course was awesome. Like, I don't know if it was because it was the last race of the season. I put a comment on Facebook, Nathan, and I actually wrote, I can't believe I'm saying this. I liked not having power-ups. Like, I liked that there was no chance. It was pure tactics. There was no sort of like, oh, someone's going to have an arrow or a feather. Like, I just think, I don't know. I
don't want to get rid of gamification, but I agree with you that the current meta of gamification doesn't feel good. Like I think it's a meta problem. I don't think it's necessarily I don't want to go as far as saying it's not a power up problem, because the what we know as power up, right, might always trigger people because of the way that it's been for so long, that like maybe we just need different language at this point, because I don't think it's even like necessarily a power up problem if they were done differently. But I'd agree with you at this point. I am not going to a casino. I am going to a bike race. And right now, I feel like I'm going to a casino. I should not be rolling dice that hard. The house always wins. And like, that's not the feeling. I should have way more control over my destiny in a race. And so, and my destiny in gamification as well. So I'd agree with you there. It hurts me to even say it, because like, I'm like, oh, there's so much good that can come out of it. But right now, we really got to get rid of the casino feel. We really, really do.
Yeah, and I think that was, yeah, I mean, we'll move on to our next topic soon. There's chats lit up, but I think there's a way to rework them to make them a bit better. I don't like what they've done. I don't like what happens in like the world. Everyone gets the same power up, because I just feel that's may as well just not do it. I actually think, and this is kind of the comment I made, that if you've got a course that lends itself to really interesting tactics, and if you've got teams who are motivated to actually make the race spicy and tactical, so not just like, oh, let's all sit in and like hang back here, then you don't need power ups, because the race is so exciting anyway. Like, you look at some of these Grand Prix races, you don't really necessarily need power ups there either, because you've got things like golden tickets, you've got, interesting race formats. So I think what's happening maybe is the evolution of the race format is kind of negating the need for power ups, is kind of my thoughts on the matter at the moment.
All right. Well, on to the next topic, because that's one for a later date for sure. Maybe we'll get some Zwift devs to come and talk to us about power ups in the future. But quick announcements. One of our well-known community members, Liz Van Houweling, has made the Zwift Academy finalists, and definitely go check out her post about that, as well as the Zwift Academy finalists have been announced. Also, one other thing, if you haven't checked out a guy named Pookie Butt, Pookie over on, people are like, what? Pookie Butt? That's his name over on Twitch. He's a great guy. He's one of our top streamers on Twitch, and he had a birthday. Why are we telling you about his birthday? Well, he did a 24-hour stream of Zwifting for his birthday. I believe it was 12 total Alps, maybe 12 and a half total Alps, pushing 13 of them. He did an Everstein. And the coolest thing about this, as a streamer on Twitch, he was never alone. There was always someone with him completing this 24-hour stream. And those people who jumped in with them, some of them got their V Everstein challenge done, because they just decided not to stop going up and down this Alp with him. So pretty awesome to see. I think, Anna, it just goes to show how tightly knit. And I'm realizing more and more. I was watching another streamer last night, and he was talking about his community that's around him, and they're a racing team as well, and just how tightly knit some of the streaming community actually is. One of the questions you had last week was, why stream? Well, this is a prime example of why streaming is so cool.
Yeah, and since we had that chat about why stream, I've really sort of more embraced it. And when I'm going on and streaming stuff, I'm not having that feeling anymore of sort of like, oh, why am I doing this? And I've had some really good chats with people coming on. New guy coming on called Snake Turds, who I think is probably the most hilarious name I've ever heard.
The only thing, the names. All right, everybody go follow Snake Turd. I don't know if I want to be following Snake Turds around, but okay, Snake.
Yeah, and just like, I've had quite a few people come in who aren't bike riders or who aren't Zwifters, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, they're sort of just like, what is this? And it's a great way to talk to people about it, something you're passionate about, right? And then I was watching a stream the other night of a guy who I've seen is literally almost streaming every day, and I find his streams really interesting because they're sort of like, it's like a mix of anime and Zwift, and I sort of actually just started talking to him. I was like, what's the deal here? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm just trying to keep fit. So I just try and do this once a day. And obviously he's a gamer as well. And yeah, it was just really cool to talk to him. So yeah, no, I'm loving it at the moment. It's a great community. It's awesome. Now, I did put out on
Yeah, you dropped
Facebook,
a
the
social
ZRL
media
Facebook.
bomb. Like it really
I
took off
did.
too. Like I am like, there's so many comments, Anna.
I know. So it is about the I just wanted to do kind of like, we're going to talk with Sai very shortly about round two. And I know that everyone will be super interested to hear Sai's thoughts and Nathan's, maybe mine, about, you know, looking ahead to round two. But before we sort of close the door on round one, I do just want to like hear from the community each time we close these off. Like, what are some great things that have happened? What are some teams that are doing well? And so I thought, let's just do a little a short awards segment. So we had best team kit and best team tactics. Now there were a lot of videos I got sent on best team tactics, and this one was hard. So I couldn't narrow it down to one. So I've gone with I've picked one, but then I've got a special mention after. So the team tactic that I picked was, and actually, do you know, interestingly, a lot of them were on the Champs-Elysees course. Now, this one, it was actually sent to me not by Team ATP. So that's Team ATP off the front there. This was sent to me by Zson, but he was so impressed. So ATP had a rider go off the front. They got a little bit of a gap. And before anyone else could react, another ATP rider slid up to the front and dropped a burrito. So the entire field slowed. And then another one appeared at the front, dropped a burrito, and the entire field slowed again. And so the rider, if you're watching live, the rider started with a 2-second gap, kind of jumped to 4, and then really just they got away and they managed to get first across line on that sprint segment. And I just loved watching this stream too, because you could hear them being like, we're getting played here. Like, this team is crushing us. And you can see the effect of the burrito used really well. And I think a lot of people, of course, when they saw the burrito, they're like, oh, wasted power up, who cares? And a lot of people were trashing them. But this was a really good team use of it. And I think, really, really impressive tactic there. And I always love the ones where it's just, teammates working for other teammates. So you've got riders kind of sacrificing their sprint here to let their teammate go up the road and take first across line.
Yeah, and really great use of the burrito, as you were saying, because it is extremely, even if you can't, even if you could respond, a lot of times it's extremely demotivating to respond to a burrito, right? And so who's going to be the person to go? Cool that you pulled. I didn't realize that this was a move by Andy Kroll's team, because he is a
Yeah,
long
Husky,
time
he's in
viewer.
chat.
Yeah, longtime viewer. He actually lives just north of me, about 2 hours north of me in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. So really cool to see that he's a part of this pick that you had. So you also had a honorable mention for best team tactics as well.
Yeah, so I did have a video here, but I got it so late last night, my time. But it is a special mention to Team Vikings Glepner B Division 2 Africa. And this was from the race this week. And so it was phenomenal, actually. I did watch the video late last night. So they going through that little kind of the second time when they're heading towards Fuego to do the 7 kilometer, long segment, their whole team dropped off by, like, I want to say 8 to 10 seconds off the pack up through the Titans, but their whole team. I'm like, that is ballsy, man, because if you don't catch on, that's your guys' race done. And the whole team sat in and did a team time trial, like a legit is a team
How
time
far
trial
off the
in a
back
race.
did you
They
say?
sit,
Like 10
I'd
seconds?
say 8 to 10 seconds. And he actually, like, you looked at their numbers. He was like, we were dying, and they were rotating turns. It was like we were watching a Friday WTRL race in a race. And so the 5 dropped back, 2 detonated and couldn't keep up, but the 3 made it back on, and they got an amazing fastest through segment. And I just thought that was like, wow. You didn't drop off 2 to 3 seconds. You didn't track stand at the start. You went all in. And that was a crazy effort. You could see the effort on their face. So special mention to Team Vikings. That was pretty phenomenal as well. And I do want to say here, we had the other award for best team kit. There's got to be some fashion there. And I am going to give this to Team Velos. New team in the league. They also put themselves forward for a most improved team that have just come in all guns blazing, doing really well. And the kit just looks phenomenal. I think designed by Tina Grobler, who's been around the community for a very long time. I'm loving it. It looks really nice with those, I think they were the Zwift they're not the Neokyo shoes. They're like might have been a Tour of Watopia shoe that they're wearing that just matches perfectly. Those gloves look good with them. So yeah, they've accessorized well. The team looks very fresh.
Yeah, great job here. I absolutely love the color coordination. It goes so well with the Tron, actually. So, great job here by the team, and a perfect award, actually. And the pic, I mean, it goes pretty well with the picture they sent in as well, Anna. The picture that they sent in with the mountains in the background and all the team riding together there, very, very well done. So, well, that is the awards for ZRL round number 1. Thanks everybody who submitted them, and we really appreciate every one of the comments that came through over on the Facebook page. If you're looking to get involved over on for round number 2 in the awards, make sure to be watching out for Anna's post in the Zwift Racing League Facebook group. That's the best place. Well, that's the only place that we've been accepting submissions for the award. So, as far as I know, maybe
don't audit my award process. It's not an auditable process.
Not an auditable process. Got it. I've got it. All right. No changing that. All right. Well, our guest, you're all going to be really familiar with him if you race the Zwift Racing League at all. Cy Bradeley is joining us. If you don't know Cy is, well, I don't know if you even are a Zwifter if you don't know Cy.
How do you not know him?
If you race Zwift at all, but Cy does recon videos of all things Zwift Racing League. He also helps run this special underground series. If you don't know about that, it's a pretty cool series. What else are you doing? Level Velo? I mean, you literally like do everything indoor racing, essentially, Cy.
Yeah, I'm not getting much sleep, that's for sure. But yeah, it's pretty busy. The Underground Racing League actually is it's really good. That's just that's for the top 50 teams according to Zwift Power. And yeah, that's going really well. Of course, we've got Level Velo with the indoor clothing. That's going well. We've just gone through a rebranding exercise of the team as well. Because we want to start doing some youth developments with that program as well. So we're no longer Provision, we're level racing. I think we are now.
Wow!
So we want to set up a little bit of a youth development structure there as well. So yeah, there's plenty going on, and it's you can only do these things when you've got. I remember in the early days I was doing the captainship, the team management, the recruitment, but we've got such a fantastic bunch now, as I think a lot of the community have. That these things are just growing organically now, and we've got a great set of captains and team members around us who help a hell of a lot. The other thing is I've jumped over onto Twitch recently as well, so I'm not just over on YouTube, but I've become part of that Twitch community, and yeah, so I've spent a lot of time watching.
Yeah, what's it?
No.
Is it just Cy Bradeley on Twitch? Cy Bradeley?
I'm like, yeah, Cy Bradeley across all platforms. I did think when I moved across Twitch, because obviously, I've raced with Pookie actually, because I'm riding with the Twitch D-Gens on a Thursday night.
You ride with the D-Gens? So no way, really?
I've ridden with those guys now. So I've ridden with Pookie Butt and the Doc as well, and a few of those guys. So yeah, I'm getting my hand in. So the idea was that I would do my training on Twitch, and the races I would put across both platforms.
Yep.
So I'm spending more, as I've got a new coach now as well, which I actually picked up through the Twitch community. So actually, I was just on a stream watching Barney, and we got chatting as you can on Twitch, which is fantastic. We got talking about coaches. So I've now got the same coach as Barney there. So this low A that I'm in, hoping is going to step up a little bit and not suffer so much on Wednesday Worlds, Nathan, to be honest. I just want to hang on one of these weeks, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, Wednesday Worlds needs to pick it up, though. I don't know if you know if you saw the chatter yesterday, but we've got I think I'm calling them the Monday Maniacs, and I think one of them is in the chat right now over on YouTube. Teppo, I don't know what you're doing with Monday's stages of the Zwift Individual Racing League, but you guys got to back off, man. They beat us by like 30 seconds or something, and we're definitely taking notice of the Monday stage of the monthly series, and I think it's becoming a battle now as whether or not Wednesday Worlds can outrace that Monday crew that shows up to race as well. But really cool to hear you're part of the DJs. I actually just found out about them yesterday. Well, I mean, I knew about them, but I didn't know like what they were up to, and I got a little bit of a lowdown from John Bach actually, who was streaming. And told me a little bit about their presence in that they're kind of not just a race team. They kind of like are this whole, both people who hang out in the community as well as streamers that, do racing and just training on Twitch. So pretty cool. Pretty cool that you're a part of that.
Yeah, they've got a great Discord as well, I have to say, and like I say, it's not just covering Zwift, but there's all sorts of, whether you're a triathlete, a cyclist, even mental health things. This community is so supportive as well, and there was things, simple things that were happening. I saw on other people's Twitch streams. I thought I just need to figure out how this is done, and that that Discord and that community have helped every step of the way. So it is a really great community. I would encourage anyone to go over there and just watch and listen and chat. If you're watching a stream, just put something in the chat, because it's a great community.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, outside of the world of Twitch, you're here to talk to us about, well, who better to talk to us than the person who does all of the course recons. So okay, let's just open this up. First of all, round 2 has been announced. And initial reactions from each of us on this. Anna, I'm going to start with you. And then we'll go real quickly through the overall for each of the courses like we did at the beginning of round 1 for the course previews. But Anna, what's your take on the upcoming? We've got, real quickly, I'm just going to do a quick, we've got 4 points races. We've got 2 TTs this time. There are power-ups across the points races. Rule Mapuli? Is that I don't even know how to. My French is horrible. Greater London Flat, 2 bridges, Sprinters Playground, Watopia's Waistband, Richmond Cobbled Climbs. I said, "Whoa, this looks hard." What are you thinking?
Okay, I guess first off, I was kind of hoping for some random new course. I don't know. I always hope that I'll look and be like, what's that? And I know that in the latest Zwift update, they did there's a new course for Worlds somewhere around Innsbruck, a kind of custom course that they're doing for the Continental qualifiers. So I was sort of like, oh, maybe they'll sort of put that in as a bit of fun. I guess first off, I sort of look and go, oh, 2 team time trials. Our team isn't the best at that. So we're already we need to go do some practice. But I like the team time trial loops. They're just typical time trial loops. There's not crazy hills. There's not sort of any of that stuff. It's just a good time trial loop, which I like. I can't race number 1, so I've kind of just blanked that from my mind. The rest I like. Sprinters Playground is good. I know it's such a hard one with all those sprints. 2 Bridges Loop, I've never raced it. So I'm kind of excited for that with 6 laps. Now, the part, I guess, that makes me really worried, and this is where I was messaging Sai before the show, is I am hoping that this is a typo, that on Richmond Cobbled Climbs, it says Libby Hill times 10 and 23rd Street times 10. Please, God, tell me that is a typo, because, 5 times up Libby is, I just did this in Grand Prix 1 time up, and it was full noise, but I don't know, 5 times up is intense. 10 times up would be, you're heading to the hospital after that race, right?
That's a good question. Let's go ahead and go to Sai's initial reaction before we get into each of the courses. What do you think, Sai? And then maybe you can answer that question quickly.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the first time that I'll be grateful, I think, for team time trial courses, because all of these courses, apart from Sprinters Playground, which is just sprint after sprint, there's a punches section in there in all of these courses, which are really, really are going to be tough. That's for sure. And, they're going to repeat and repeat to go in, again, looking at Richmond, looking at Sprinters Playground, 2 Bridges. Look, that's a tough course as well. So, and we've got some disruptive power-ups in there as well. I know you guys had a quick chat about the power-ups. So actually, for the first time, I'm looking forward to the team time trials, because they're the flattest that we've got, and you haven't got to worry about doing sprint after sprint. I think in terms of that Libby Hill section, I think that is a little bit of a typo there, because otherwise I worked it out. It'd be like a 90-kilometer race. And I think we all thought Eastern 8 was long enough this season round. So I think it's just a typo. I do remember on round one also, there was a doubling up of, I think the system just doubled up some of the segments there for whatever reason. So it is almost definitely a typo, because I do not fancy doing 90 Ks around Richmond, that's for sure.
Now, my initial reaction, and I think you're right there. I do think, I am seeing in the chat as well a total of probably 6 times, I think is what it's going to be. It's probably just the way that the system in the background grabbed some information and just doubled things up a little bit. But my initial reaction, interesting enough, somebody said that they think it's too flat. And I'm looking at this going, we have a mountaintop finish in France for the first one. It looks like to me, we've got Two Bridges loop is not, I was like, ouch, like that's gonna hurt, like, because you got a solid punch as well as the Essies each and every lap. Watopia waistband, I mean, okay, Sprinters Playground as well. I mean, that's just sprint after sprint after sprint. And then Richmond Comma climbs, I mean, 5 times around the cobbled climbs? Like, that's going to be just nothing but punching like great. Like, that sounds like it's really good. I'm looking forward to that, though, because I like hard races. So that'll be really interesting. But my initial reaction was, especially with 2 TTTs, I personally love the team time trial. It's something that we excel at within, and you know, I like getting really frustrated with my team and yelling at them because they're not doing it right. No, I'm just kidding. So, like, if anybody ever watches my team time trial streams, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And having 2 team time trials for me, because it's a discipline I like to work so hard on, and it'll make people really, because it's almost like people show up to the TTT on a weekly basis with WTRL. At this point, it's like, because it's, it's on the, it's not as much pressure, I feel like, as the Zwift Racing League. It's like, oh, just throw in your weekly TTT, get some threshold work in, and have some fun with your team. And I feel like in the ZRL, it gets a little bit more competitive. So I enjoy that there's 2 chances. Like, if you didn't get it right the first time, you can work on it and go at it again a second time. So I kind of like that whole idea, because just having one, and if you don't have time on a Thursday to do the WTRL TTT, then, you get this second shot at it rather than having to wait a whole season to do another TTT. This gives you this second go. So, well, you guys are gonna jump right on into it. That's our initial reactions. But okay, help me with the pronunciation. Sai, you go first. How do you
don't come to
this?
me on this.
No, Anna. All right, fine. Anna, what? How are we? I'm seeing Roule Mapule, and I'm like, is that really how you say this?
I think because there's no accent on the E, I think it's just Rule Mapul.
Rule Mapul. Rule. I feel like I'm like going.
I don't know. Someone in the chat, tell me if that's wrong. I know. Rule Mapul.
I feel like, don't you see like billiards? Like, you're shooting pool when you hear that? That's what I hear.
You're talking a lot about casinos and bars, and
maybe
you need to get out a bit more, Nathan.
I smell like cigars.
So what do we think about this race? I mean, I just had a quick look, because my first impression was like, oh, this is just a loop around France. I did not take into consideration that this is the one that starts and ends on that petite KQOM, but the other way with that long draggy, like you're starting Ven top, but then you finish at the top of that petite banner. This is a brutal start and a brutal finish.
Yeah, Sai, what do you think here, Sai? What's your opinion on this guy?
You've got to be warm. You've got to make sure you're really warmed up before you start this course. I remember doing this course when I think my first race on Zwift was on this course. And what a shock to the system that was, because not only was it one of the traditional fast starts on Zwift that we used to have back in the day, but we pretty much went straight out on this drag up the reverse side of the Petit Com. So it's a tough start. You've got to make sure you're warm, and then obviously you take that right hand turn. There's a little bit of respite as you go through that little church there, and that sort of the S bends on the other side. It's then pretty flat until you get to the aqueduct climb, which is obviously short, punchy, more or less a bit of a sprint on that one. I noticed we've got the steamroller, I think, as well on this one. So again, that will be utilised on there. That can also be utilised on the Marina sprint forward on that one as well. So it's going to be a tough course. And to finish as well on the top of that, And if you remember, you take that left-hand turn and the banner is immediately, as you take that left-hand turn at the top of that petit com there. It's not too long, but it's constantly draggy. And I think you guys raced this a couple of weeks ago on Wednesday Worlds, but in the opposite direction, if you remember rightly. So it's
quick question
it's a good course.
Sai, it looks to me FAL, Pave, Marina, Aqueduct, FTS, Aqueduct, Pave, Marina, right? But Petite is only finishing points. Is that right for this?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looks like? Is that right?
Yeah, I guess I think obviously as we go through the pen, well, I don't think it has ever been an official segment. It's only a segment in the opposite direction. It's only a segment in the opposite direction when you're coming up, which we've done a few times.
That makes sense. So it doesn't have the ability actually to be tracked as a segment. So it doesn't have those segments up front because we do climb it once right off the bat. But that's just going to be a place for separation, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I think it's well worth mentioning that I know there's a lot of chat about the different courses. I think one thing we're seeing in round one is that the riders are making the races. It doesn't matter how flat or lumpy the course is. The teams and the riders now are much smarter, much more intelligent. We understand. I think those fast starts seem to have reduced that we used to get. Teams and riders are getting smart, and the riders are making the race really interesting. We saw that on Eastern 8 with lots of different tactics. And, I've seen bits of chat and comments, which always, it's always good to get the feedback on these courses on the Facebook groups. But again, it will be the riders and the teams that make this. There may be some team that chooses to hit out straight off the bat on this course and make one long line right from the start. I know I've been dropped on this, and it's not even a segment. So, yeah, the riders are going to make this race for sure, and there's an opportunity right out the bat there to do that.
Interesting power-ups. We've got a 34% chance for an arrow, 33% chance for an invisibility, and a 33% chance for the steamroller. I think the strongest power-up on the day there is going to be the arrow. We have seen the invisibility power-up used a lot recently in Grand Prix. Yeah, with some pretty awesome moves. The steamroller, there's no dirt really. You just have the cobbles. So I don't know if that's going to be super, going to really have too much. I mean, you can use it, and I would be using on that downhill through that village. I mean, there is the downhill off of the aqueduct into the village for the steamroller. And if you're carrying some speed and your team times it, and as well as like, it's one of those moments where like I got to get rid of a power up, and you're on the cobbles anyways. So like it is a nice opportunity for a lot of people to use the steamroller and kind of like ramp some things up. If people are hurting, you could maybe cause a break to happen during that section. Sai looks like he's having some pretty awesome lighting effects. He just entered a disco, a European disco. It looks like over there.
You're going dark, bright.
I need to go put some money in the meter, I think. But hopefully you can still see some of me. But
yes, we see you. It actually got cooler. It actually everything got really neon. I think your Tron bike just turned on. Your Tron room. See, Sai has been doing so much drifting. He unlocked the Tron room. That's level 100. He had a top secret AB select start and unlocked the Tyson Punch Out for the Tron room. So, all right. So
you're now seeing the Twitch setup.
I think on the power-ups, what I've noticed from a lot of the videos that actually got sent to me for the best team tactics is I think you need to start thinking about the power-ups as a team power-up. So if you've got the Ghost and you've got 3 other teammates who have got the Ghost, you can use that as a team. Like if you all drop the Ghost at the same time, maybe after that Marina sprint, and you've got a climber who you can drag up to get away, and before, you reappear, your climber's maybe just 5 seconds up the road, but that could be enough, right? So, I look at my team and I think like a Christina and a Jackie Godby, like Christina drops a Ghost straight after that banner if she got one. Jackie jumps on her wheel, invisible, slingshots her forward, and you've already got a gap leading into a climb, which she's pretty good at anyway. So I think maybe if people start thinking about them as team sort of dynamic, and this is what I've seen with these tactics, we saw that with the burrito one, you can actually use them pretty well. I think when you just look at them individually as yourself, they start to neutralize each other out, because everyone will be wanting the arrow for the sprint, And so if everyone's dropping arrows at a sprint, it doesn't really matter. It just becomes an even playing field again. But if you do them smartly, I think it'll work a bit better.
Well,
Yeah, I think that steamroller will have an impact on that pavé sprint as well. It's we saw it on the Champs Elysees this time round. That steamroller can be a good weapon on those cobbles as well. So I think both the aero and the steamroller on that pavé sprint will play a role. It'll be interesting to see which one wins out, but it's a pretty effective parallel.
100%. Be interesting. Oh, I forget that that's a section where. See, I forgot about the points. I'm thinking I'm not even thinking ZRL racing. Duh, Nathan. Everyone's gonna be absolutely flying through that section, and with how long that power up lasts, the arrow might win the sprint for you, but the continuation after the sprint, and that's actually how I got away on Fuego Flats this past last race in ZRL. A steamroller, a late steamroller for someone who's not necessarily going for those points might be a situation where they could get away and try and get the FAL on the marina as well. So it's a long go, but something I'd definitely be in for just because I just like to make things difficult for everybody and get chased. But all right, well, let's move on. London TTT. What's there to say about this? I mean, it's the London Greater Flat. I mean, this is one of the most old school courses that we have. It's pretty well known. I would think anybody the only thing I would say is I'm getting the feeling that people who are newer to Zwift racing, if they're just jumping in the last year or so, maybe London's not as familiar to them, because I'm not sure because up front when London first got launched for the first few years, it was used all the time. It was constantly used. And I don't know about Anna and Sai, but I feel like London's kind of gotten thrown to the back door a little bit. It hasn't been used much at all recently.
Yeah, I remember when I must have done the Greater London Flat Recon 3 or 4 times in the early days of doing those videos, and people used to comment all the time because it was a regular course. But can't forget this time that we're now on TT bikes and the ZRL. I think this must be this is still one of the early days within Team TTT bikes. We're still learning about the draft as well, and we know there's certain tools out there that can help you do that. But we're learning more about the draft. We've got the audio aspect. People are getting much more switched on to what's happening with that draft. So I think this is good. I think this is okay to have 2 straightforward flat TTs for this particular round. As you say, you've got new people coming in this winter into TTT. Myself, I don't do a lot of Thursday night TTTs. I'm actually looking forward to this time round. We're on TTT bikes. We've got the new start pens for that. And we're all, those who don't TTT on a Thursday night, we get to practice out these new skills and that we've been reading about and watching on YouTube now. So I think it'd be an interesting one. It's good.
Yeah. Anna, what do you think about the course?
Yeah, again, I'm a little bit nervous because our team, this is definitely not our strong point, but I think the course is perfect. I think we will have before the series starts, before the first TTT, we'll have Aaron Bleakley on to talk through team time trial tactics with the new draft, with the new bikes, because it is a little bit different. And what I do actually like about it, though, is that you can't practice this without doing the WTRL team time trials, because you can go out and practice with your team, but time trial bikes don't have draft outside of this. So you can practice on road bikes, but it's not the same. So the dedicated teams will be the ones who are great team time trialists, because they're probably doing all the WTRL time trials anyway. And I think that's good. It's rewarding the people who are putting in the effort. So I like that. I think the course, I don't think there's too much to say about the course. It's there's a few, tiny little ups and downs. It's a great time trial course. Can't complain with this one.
Yeah, very flat. Greater London Flat. I kind of like it that you go a direction in London that you don't usually go when it comes to racing, because you do take a left-hand turn right off the bat. After you come through the finish line and make your way around the back side of the added. If you didn't know, that whole section that that you do around the back side of the downtown or the city, residential areas of London or whatever that might be, that was actually added to London. It wasn't always there. Those were roads that were an addition, and it was a great addition to be able to have a little bit more flat racing and some new areas to race through out in London. Up front, you just had that classic course, and and the Surrey Hills. That was about it. So using some of those additions that Zwift had put in early on in the early days of Zwift racing. So TTT. Well, now after the TTT, the first team time trial, this is also an addition to Zwift that's fairly recent, but it wasn't like they put new roads in. They just made it so that you had a cut. Well, they had to make a cutoff on for the Two Bridges loop, but besides that little cutoff over on the Watopia reverse hilly KOM, it's pretty much all roads that have been around for quite a long time. But it is a new route: 2 bridges, 6 laps, 1 punch, and is that right? 12 or no, that's 6. It's gonna be 6
Harvard.
reverse.
6,
yeah,
yeah.
6
6.
reverse sprints. All JW Bridge sprints, though. Those are going to be, I mean, this is the thing. Okay, so everybody, this 2 bridges loop, it goes through the reverse of the Essies, right? That sprint is insane for timing. And the anvil and the ghost and the burrito, all disruption power-ups, like insanely disrupting power-ups. This is going to be so tactical as far as how you win those sprints 6 times. I think just to get in the mix on those sprints, I have to be doing like 60 kilometers an hour on that downhill coming into the JW Bridge.
Yeah, this one I find, I looked at this, I was like, oh, this is one sprint that I find so tricky to get right. And I think the reason is there's that little kicker climb before you hit that downhill towards the sprint. And it's sort of that little cat and mouse game. If you don't want to be at the front at the end of that climb, because the whole pack speed is going to come after you, but you don't want to be sitting too far off the back yo-yoing, because then a bit of the pack will get over before you and start their downhill and you're kind of swinging off the back. So I find it really tricky to time. Now you're adding in the anvil, which I know you've got some thoughts on this, Nathan, because you did, I think, one of your Wednesday Worlds, and the anvil is just insane powerful. I'm kind of fingers crossing that it's going to get tweaked a little bit before we have this race, because you're hitting that anvil at the...
This is something we haven't talked about yet, but there are some opinions in some whispers, not with Zwift or anything, but go ahead, Anna. I agree there.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a power up that you're adding 50 kg and it lasts for 30 seconds, I mean, you have that power up, no one can beat you going down there. I mean, obviously, a third of the field could also have that power up, but it's a game changer. That one, too much of a game changer, in my opinion. But I am loving this course because also you've got that you don't have the KQOM because you cut off beforehand, but you've got that real kick up where it hits at a 10% before you take the left and head back to downtown. That on the final lap is just like explosion fireworks. I love it. This course that I've raced before heading into the finish line.
Now, Sai, I mean, anvil, downhill. Essentially, it feels to me like the anvil on this course has become the new arrow power-up for the win, both on that sprint as well as to the finishing line, I would think.
Yeah, I think the anvil on this course can both be your savior and your downfall. It can be your savior in terms of you've got that section as you get over the reverse com and you just take that little cut through road. If you're having some issues getting up that climb in later laps, that could save you. That could get you back on before that finishing sprint. But as you've said, that sprint, the JWB sprint after the S's, with the effect that anvil has at the moment, yeah, that's going to win. That's going to win the FTS there, and probably the majority of the FALs if you get that picked up. But having said that, there are opportunities with the Ghost Power Up if you want to risk it, and those racers who want to race with that Ghost Power Up going through those S's, that could also play its part. So, yeah, I think the anvil is certainly going to make or break your race, and here it's probably the second most attritional race that we're going to have in this round, bar the final race. And like I say, racers want to race now, and people aren't afraid. I watched your stream from Eastern 8 with what your team did, Nathan, this time, and riders want to take it to the peloton now. So we could see some disruption, not just on the JWB sprint, but that climb as well, because 5 or 6 times, or even I think the season D's are maybe doing 4 on this time. That will still be pretty darn destructive. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the anvil might. The thing is with that, with how strong that is, it's going to cause the speeds to be so insanely high, and the ability to sit in at all throughout some of these sprints, or even on that downhill. I mean, think about how sharp the downhill is on the reverse KOM after that little punch. And then into the lap section for Two Bridges, I mean, you're going to be carrying 80 kilometers per hour. I mean, without anvils in Wednesday Worlds yesterday, we were doing 80 kilometers per hour on the downhill. That was without any anvils, right? And so, 90K? I mean, I think you're going to hit 90 kilometers. Enough anvils, you're going to be flying. The suggestion I've seen in the community is maybe halving because my take is, if somebody uses that power up on a downhill, someone without the power up should be able to jump on and super tuck within the wheels, right? Like you should be able to jump on. No, what do you think?
I don't think in the women's races, because if you think about that anvil for someone who doesn't weigh a lot.
No, if you half it, I'm saying we should get it to the point. The right way for it to function would be that you could jump in the wheel after somebody uses it, and currently you cannot.
No, you can't. Yeah, exactly. No, I get your point. Sorry. Yeah, I think, the fact that they can go and you can't do anything about it is making it a frustrating power up. I think all the other ones, like, it's so long as well. I think it's got the 2 factors here. It's got length and superpower. So it's sort of the 2 together make it unbeatable.
Yeah, I think if you could jump into the wheel, if it was depending on finding that perfect threshold, that knife's edge of like, where can someone jump into the wheel, super tuck, or be on without having to put out too much energy, and use the anvil alongside of them, not using your own anvil, but be able to draft on that anvil without it just rolling away. Right, that would make a lot more sense to me. Sai, what do you think as far as that goes? Since we're talking about anvil here and how it relates to this next season, obviously.
Yeah, it's absolutely the way it's going at the moment. So I'd say it could make or break your race. So you get a decent number of riders coming off the S's, or even coming into that finish line with anvils. At the moment, I don't think you're sticking with that group. And it was a little bit like that. Remember that first time when we had the steamroller going through the dirt, heading up to the Italian villas there two seasons ago? If you didn't have a steamroller and you didn't have super legs that day, you were getting popped out the back as well. And it is, I remember you mentioned Liz Van Houweling earlier on. She's obviously a teammate of mine, and we raced the Surrey Hills 2 or 3 seasons ago there, and we got to the top of Leith Hill there, obviously a tough climb, and we got popped just because 3 or 4 other, it was a small group at that point, but almost everyone else had that anvil, and we just got popped out of the back going on the descent. So it's maybe a little bit too powerful now. It absolutely, from my view, I think it just needs reviewing and just tweaking a little bit, so you've got a chance. Put it that way.
I think a few devs at Zwift are grinding their teeth at me right now. I actually suggested the change, and I think the change was needed. Before, the anvil was ridiculous. Nobody wanted it. Everybody just binned it. And now it's like it got buffed. Now the pendulum swung in the other direction now, and it just needs a little bit maybe of a tweak. All right, let's move on.
I think just on that power ups, I think we can say that about a few power ups. I remember when I first started doing these recons, these disruptive power ups, the burrito even, I wasn't a big fan. But actually, I really like that power up now, and I think it's really effective if deployed. You guys showed a video early on in tonight's race. That burrito, used correctly with the right team. I think, Nathan, perhaps you used it recently as well on one of your events with the team. I'm actually really enjoying these disruptive, but we still need to do some tweaking.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about tweaking, I'd like to tweak the ghost as well, because at the moment it lasts 10 seconds. And for a ghost to be
10?
effective,
really?
Yeah, it's pretty short. I think it's 10. That'd be right, maybe. For a ghost to work really well, you need to kind of drop it at the back of the pack and move forward. Because if you drop it at the front, everyone can see you and they see that you've gone, so that they know that you've dropped it. Whereas if you drop it at the back, you're sneaky. But if you drop it at the back, by the time you get to the front, you've reappeared almost, right? So I would like if the ghost could be even just extended to 15 seconds. I think would make that one, not super powerful, but a bit more workable, to actually have it impact a little bit more. At the moment, it's slightly useless. But yeah, so if you're putting in some dev requests, Nathan, can you just add that one as well?
All over it. All over it.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Well, race number 4 in round 2 of the Zwift Racing League for 2022-23. The Sprinters Playground was added as a part of Makuri's Island. And interesting course here. We've got 3 laps, 37.3 kilometers, 202 meters of climbing. I thought this was a Sprinters Playground. What's going on here? I'm going to go to Sai on this one first. Where is that 202 meters coming from?
Actually, there are parts of this course as you go up and off the railways as well, which are reasonably lumpy and draggy. And if you're doing it that many times, then you're going to accumulate a little bit there. So it's this course just grinds me. It's just sprint after sprint. There's hardly any recovery between those sprints, particularly those first 3. This is going to be one tough interval training session for sure. It's not one to look forward to from my point of view, especially when you consider yourself more of a climber than a sprinter.
I think
I love this. I love it.
Yeah, Anna, go ahead.
This is probably the one I'm most excited about. We raced it ages ago in the Zwift knockouts. And I feel like I've dialed in like a couple of these sprints that, when you dial it in and every time it's just magic, you kind of get those points and it just happens. I think it's attritional, it's long, you've got to be, again, quite tactical. You may be the best rider in the world. You can't go full noise sprinting across all of these sprints in every lap. What is it? 12 sprints in total. Like you'll just fall apart. So it's got to be a team sort of like who goes for what when. Are there going to be early attacks for first across line? I think this one is, you got to put a lot of thought into it. If you're thinking about training before you head into this round, go hit your over-unders. Even go on this course. This is what I used to do in the prep for the knockouts was go on this course and just use that as your interval session. So maybe don't do 3 laps, maybe do 2 or even just 1. And sprint each sprint, and you'll start to get a feel for what that last lap is going to feel like.
4 sprints, so pretty intense each and every lap. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be crazy. Very flat, as you can see. Total climbing, I guess. Then, as you were saying, it does have those little bumps. These are interesting. I think I did this in the tiny races, I believe, with one of my teammates. And this is a course where leadouts can really, at least for me, my experience here was some of the best leadout situations I have ever seen and ever been a part of and got dropped off at the line was on this course. And so practicing those leadouts and being able to jump on somebody's wheel and getting delivered to the line, I think is going to be absolutely crucial for those teams that have really, if you have other teams that are good at that in your division, then be on the watch out because they might get the better of you. If you've got more teams that just kind of everybody just starts orange and everybody goes orange and sees what happens, not so much, but I've seen some pretty amazing leadouts actually in Splinters Playground over and over again because a team that's good at leadouts, if you have 1 or 2 lead out men and like a few men or women, and then you have a few that are your good sprinters, and they just they can just essentially do a churn, sprint it out, sit up, go to the back, lead it out again. And then you just keep on protecting your couple of sprinters, and you just keep leading them out. And I actually only had to kick for the last 10, 15 seconds at the most. I didn't have to ramp it up too much. And because they were able to jump out of the pack in a way that I was following really quickly, my effort, I remember watching my front man doing 12 and I was doing 8. Like I was way, way under. So if you work on those lead outs and you got to spearhead things though. and get used to that. If you're not used to figuring out how to create that spearhead on Zwift, go work on that, because this one definitely brings out those abilities. All right, well, number 5, we're back to a team time trial, everybody. Watopia's waistband, though, this is a course of 27.8 kilometers, 101 meters of elevation. This has been used plenty of times in the TTT on Thursdays as well. Anything special about this, Sai? What are you thinking?
No, I think it's again, it's just a time trials course. This is going to be about formation, trying to keep as many riders. I won't get into the churning versus line debate with you, Nathan, because I've seen that happen already. But yeah, no, it's a fairly straightforward course. This was, I think, originally a Rebel route. I don't know who did this Rebel route, but yeah, it's just a great team time trial course. So it's I expect fireworks.
Yeah, Anna, anything?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I mean, you've got
no,
there isn't really much
I think
climbing.
just fast times. Not much climbing. You've got that little bit sort of as you head sort of up the slight climbs into the Italian villa kind of area. But it's only 2% maybe kicks a little bit. Yeah, nothing crazy. I think this is like anything, and it'll be quite good when we have Aaron on to talk through strategies with regard to some of these courses, is it's the again, it's the riders who will determine how successful or not this is. I think this one, you've got a real risk because of that. It starts off so flat through the desert of just not negative splitting it. And by the time you get to the volcano, and there's that little kick in the volcano, I feel like that could be a crucial point where people have gone too hard at the start, just start to see the wheels come off, and the last part just becomes a real slog to try and keep your riders together. So I think this one, it's going to be that pacing strategy, starting off maybe a little bit, conservatively to push that last part will make a difference.
I think because Fuego Flat's up front and being so flat, and it's one massive flat route, essentially, you can gain a lot of time with formation up front. I would just say that the practicing of the team time trial and how flat that is on Fuego Flats, so much time can be gained on the Fuego Flats. But as you said, it needs to not just be through pure sheer force and power. It needs to be through good formation, good tactics with the TTT, with your team, and knowing exactly how to get the most speed out of your team, because the flat sections here are really, really going to show who knows how to form a team time trial and use those abilities that you have in Zwift to get the most speed as you possibly can. I'd have to greatly disagree, strongly disagree with some comments I've seen come through on the YouTube, as well as a couple of places that say team time trials, they're still just a watt per kilogram fest. And I'm like, dude, oh my God. We literally have a half a watt per kilogram to a full watt per kilogram less than most of the teams that we are competing against at this point or beating in the team time trial. I am sorry. That is just factually, scientifically false at this point. And if you want to win a team time trial, you got to know how to do it well on Zwift. So, no reaction. Everybody's like, okay, Nathan, get off your high horse. All right, coverage. Richmond cobbled climbs.
Not poking the bear.
Not poking it. Richmond cobbled climbs is the last one. Race number 6. It's a points race. We talked about it at the start of the show. 5 laps. Whew, this looks like, but it's not going to be 5 laps for everybody, is it? They've done this again, it looks like. And before we head into the actual...
Still 4.
But still 4. No, yeah, but this is a change. It is a little bit of a change. And let's just real quickly, what have you guys gotten as far as the feeling from the community about this little bit of a change up? Because there's been comments and Facebook posts about like, what the heck? Why aren't we doing as much as the A's are or the B's are? Are we lesser racers with the C's and the D's? And I personally think it's pretty justified not to keep people up for 2 hours on a Tuesday night, to finish their Zwift racing if they're a C or D category for that extra time out there. But there have been some opinions out there that don't like this change when it is a longer course. Anna, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have seen, and then the flip side, some D riders being like, whoo, 4 laps of Richmond. Oh, no. I think it really depends on the course. So I think if you've got I'm just sort of looking through the Ds now. If you've got I think they've done it, like, in my mind, pretty well. I mean, I'm an A rider, so I don't want to be speaking on the C and D's part. But you look at like a sprinter's playground, which is relatively flat. 3 laps. We're all doing 3 laps. You've got 2 bridges loops. It's 6 versus 5. I think that's, there's some climbs in there. It's pretty attritional, and it's only a lap. Like, it's a lap different. Richmond, I think that I'll be begging for 4 laps, once we get through this. I think it's fine. It's not like you've gone 5 laps and 2 laps. I think you're just dropping off a little bit at the end, and you're making the races a similar time, right? So you're not got the A's out there for 40 minutes and the D's out there for an hour and a half. I think that's not really fair. But I guess the only thing is, and I've seen a lot of feedback on it. I feel so sorry because I didn't know what happened until I got sent all these tactics videos of like, oh, we just sent our team off on 2 different routes on Downtown Titans. So I think you've got to, if the routes are different, you've got to make sure that there's no Zwift bugs there, sending people off in different ways, because then that gets very frustrating, because then you look at the A's and the B's who, from my knowledge, there were no issues with Eastern 8. That's where people will get pissed off. So I think just really you got to make sure the routes are nailed in, eh?
Ouch. That's all I got to say about that. Oh my goodness. Ouch. Sai, opinions on that at all? I mean, I think it's good personally.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because one of the most frequent comments I had on the video we did on Eastern 8 was C&D riders going, oh, what the heck? I'm not riding the same course. It's a similar course, but then in the same, I also remember, I mentioned Surrey Hills when we did Surrey Hills the last time. That was a long day in the saddle for all categories.
I remember, good call. I remember a lot of comments about I'm still sitting here on course at whatever time on Surrey Hills, and someone's just out there an hour or two suffering away to get their final points for their team, and you don't even know how things have finished up. And go ahead, but I agreed there.
Yes. So I can see it from both sides. I think with this one, at least we're on the same course, for sure. So, and I think, either way, it's going to be a tough, hard race, whether you're doing 4 or 5. And it's not just about the Libby Hill on this particular course. That's the other thing. And again, it's not just Libby Hill and 23rd Street. The one that gets me here is Governor Street every time. I know it's a bit of a drag, but try and do Governor Street after you've done these 2 climbs the 4th time round. That's where the race could be broken. I've certainly been dropped from groups being on that drag of Governor Street, which comes after the 2 segments. So this is going to be a challenging course.
The final Governors is always the one that really gets me when it's going to the finish line. I'd have to agree. It's Governor Street for me every time. I think that one of the first most challenging races I ever did was prior to having events. Actually, we did a GCN race, and I remember Governor Street just hurting more than I think I've ever been hurt in my life before by Mr. Cy Richardson, actually. From GCN demolished us. But Governors I think is the one to watch out for if you do make it over the top of Libby and 23rd. You can kind of punch over the top of those, and then Governors just comes at you, like you said, if anybody wants to attack at the bottom of it. And then there's the reality of the way that it levels out slightly because it's a false flat at the end of Governor Street into the lap finish line. You can continue to put the suffering on if the speeds are high enough over the top, and you feel, because people feel like they can sit up and stop pedaling, right? And that's just not reality. You have to continue on.
Yeah, what I like about this course that they've put here is it's not the UCI course, because I think what happens in the UCI course is that, like me personally, my 30-second and 1 minute power are my strength. So this course is great. It's like 1 climb is around 1 minute, 1 is around 30 seconds. So it's perfect. But then my strength gets neutralized on the UCI course because you've got like so much recovery before you hit them again that everyone is just fresh again. Whereas I looked at this, I was like, yeah, booyah, because you do those, you hit Governors, and then there's not a lot of recovery before you hit them again. So yeah, this one is awesome. It's attritional, but you got to still be a little bit tactical. And the thing I found interesting with ZRL this round is what to do if you drop teammates. So you will no doubt probably drop a couple of teammates on some of those quick climbs in succession. Now, do you drive forward and extend the gap knowing that you've got some competition in the back group, or do you wait for your teammates to catch up? And then you've got this funny dynamic where all teams are thinking this, and some are pushing pace big time and some are trying to pull it back. So there's real tactics playing out in the flat areas depending on what's happened to your team, like if it's blown up or not. So yeah, I think this one's going to be really rad.
Yes, I speak to that because on past times on this course, I have seen confusion within a team. Like if they don't come in to this course with a plan about how things will break up and whether or not they're going to bring it back together, I have seen teams not know what you can see them in like in their heads, they're in no man's no woman's land about what the heck to do, because they can see that someone's chasing by the lap finish banner. The left-hand turn's about to happen. They know now there's a really sharp downhill. You can hit 57 kilometers per hour every single time. If you do, the people off the back, they're probably not catching you unless they got a larger pack than you, the snowball effect, etc. And I've seen teams just with question marks. Like it's like in the cartoons, you just have a little question mark all over their heads. Like, I don't know what to do right now. Where do I go?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, this, because again, it comes back to what I was saying earlier about the riders and the teams are making the race. When I first started, and I'm sure this has happened to a lot of new teams and new riders, our team, the level team, when we started our first season, however many years ago that was now, I forget, but it was all about getting one of our riders over and taking the glory for first across the line at the finish line on those early events. And I think that, a lot of riders get sucked into that still in the early days. And actually what you realize pretty quickly is the teams that are winning week in, week out are not the ones putting their hands up as they cross the finish line at the end. It's the one that have got 5 or 6 riders packing in that top 10 or 15, riders at the end. So, again, you've got to think about that. You've got to be looking at how many riders are around you. How far is the next group? How many riders you've got there? You've got to be able to make decisions on the fly. And we're not at the point where we're getting points tallies on screen yet. Hopefully that's something I think will come, and I hope it will come in the future. So you've got to be switched on, and that's difficult to do. On a course like Sprinters Playground, that's difficult to do. On a course like Cobble Climbs, that's difficult to do. But you've got to be able to try and figure out how many riders am I going to need to get up here on the finish line, or on this particular segment on the last lap to close that gap. But I think that's just been an evolution of ZRL over the years, that and that hopefully that knowledge is filtering down now as new riders come in and joined experienced teams to get that knowledge. Again, on this course, you mentioned it there, is that finish line on the final lap it's really tricky to get right. I've tried it going early and been caught out. I've been trying to, go late. You get caught out and you don't quite make the catch. It's a really tricky one, because it is that little bit of a drag there. And again, you've got to be aware of who's around you, how many around us, what kind of state do we think they're in, and again, make a decision on the fly at what point you've got to go on this finishing sprint, because it's not an easy finish this at all. We saw it, in fact, on the yeah.
I think
we
as
saw
well
it on
the
the Grand Prix,
power-ups.
didn't we, recently?
Yeah, I was just saying that with the. I was just thinking that with the Grand Prix, the power-ups played a huge role in our tactical decisions too. And looking at the power-ups here, I think they will as well. Especially, I don't know so much about the Ghost, but I know the Aero and the Feather. You've really got to make a call when you're using these. So, like, if you've just crested Libby and you're a little bit off the pace, and someone's pushing on the flat into the downhill, you're gone. And if you have an Aero, you might just need to do a Hail Mary and drop it and use it then, but then you've used it, and that's a power up that is so crucial for the finish line, because right before the end it's about 200 meters of flat, 200 to 300 meters of flat, and that Aero, if you're in the front pack, wins the day. Same thing with the Feather. If you've got a Feather coming into the finish, you have to go early, because if anyone's got an Aero from behind sitting on you, they'll use it and sprint at the end. So it's sort of I think the power ups are really going to influence, especially on that last lap, what tactics you're going to put into play.
I really like what you said there, Sai, as well, with the evolution of the racing and the way that people are thinking about this, because in past races on this course, as well as Sprinters Playground, but I think this course is really going to make this point shine. That now there might be teams that just are really stacked and they end up being the glory teams that are just getting away with a lot of teams, a lot of people out the front. But I have a feeling that there might be a pack of riders that are chasing a couple off the front, but they've got 5 riders or 4 riders that are all from one team. Team Swedish Swifters come to mind about this a lot. They're so smart about keeping things together and making sure that they are supporting each other in a way that they get the highest placing they can on average across their whole team, that are at least within those top 10 places. And bam, you get to the end of the race and they just demolished all the people who are riding for their own glory. Like it was like Team Swedish Swifters are just, they're so far ahead in points by the end of this. And this is a course that will, I think, really make those kinds of teams shine if they are close to each other in ability level. If it's too far back, if it's too far off the pace, because this is the kind of course that it really does favor a few kinds of riders. It really is a suffering course. It's a course that you've got to really be able to punch on and stay with the high speeds. But if you can at least be within that couple of seconds when you're going over the top of Governor Street and regroup, you're going to end up being able to support a team in a way that I think the Zwift Racing League really highlights the idea of this being a team effort for sure. I think it's a great point, Si, about this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just part of the evolution that we've gone through. So, it's as I said right at the start, it's the riders that are going to make the racing this time, not the courses, for sure.
100%. Well, Si, any final thoughts on this? Obviously, you're going to be doing, well, I shouldn't say obviously, you're going to be doing course recons across the entirety week. I mean, when do you release your course recons each and every week for the entire round? And usually the weekend before, I think it is on a Saturday or so that you throw that out there?
So the first one, it's always 10 days before. So I always get the first one out a little bit earlier. And then I actually used to put it out I used to finish the race on a Tuesday and put it out Tuesday night. But that many people are like, come on, I'm still suffering. I'm still on course. I don't want to see next week's course yet. So it goes out once some of the other time zones are finished, mid sort of morning for me on a Wednesday at some point.
Okay,
so you've got a good 7 days. And yeah, of course, there's always then plenty of recons that you can get on if you want to go and ride it. Later in the week as well. But yeah, normally six days out currently, the recon goes live. So no matter what I said about the riders making the race, you've still got to go and watch the recon, right? And subscribe to my channel. So still go and watch the recon. None of it'll
work. None of that will work unless you watch Si's recons. There's magic code in the back of Zwift that gives you special percentages on the best power-ups if you watch Si's recons. So
you got it.
Si, I appreciate you taking the time and hanging out with us. Some of our most popular podcasts and have been in lives here on the Wrap. Well, our most popular have been with you jumping in. I think people absolutely love what you do with the course previews. So keep up the awesome work. And it's really great to have you hanging out in the Twitch community and streaming. If you want to check out Si Bradeley, make sure to go Si Bradeley. It sounds like across all. Is that socials as well? It's YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter,
YouTube,
all of that.
Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, I'm like Sports Science Si on Twitter because that's from my old Sports Science days. I am on TikTok as well, but only because the kids told me, and I haven't got around to posting pretty regular. But so I'm across
Is there
most
like a
socials.
Si Bradeley dance that we can find on TikTok?
Definitely not. But I'm going to start doing more YouTube shorts, so you might see some dancing in the Si disco that we've got now as well. So
nice.
Maybe it's a bonus that the light went out. But I'm on quite a few. Put it that way.
Sounds good. All right, thanks. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you for the next racing season and over on Twitch. Well, everybody, Si Bradeley, he's been with us before. We appreciate him so much. One of the cornerstones of the Zwift racing community for sure, Anna, and really love how far he's come with everything Zwift through initially just being this awesome guy doing the course recons. Really how we got to know him.
Yeah, I think I just love Si's passion for it. I was messaging him before Eastern 8 being like, Do you mind if I just run through our team tactics with you just to have you like kind of have an eye over them? And I'm thinking he's probably like, oh, I'm so busy doing all this stuff. But he's like, yes, send them to me. And then he's like going and being like, okay, yep. And then we had messaging back and forward for ages. So yeah, his passion is real. I love it. His videos are great. I always send them off to my team. I was actually using his DS notes. They were up on my Twitch stream as I was racing because I was looking at all the K markers. So yeah, he's awesome. It's been fantastic. I've loved this latest round of ZRL, and I'm pretty pumped, especially now we've gone through it. You know, it kind of brings it to life a bit more when you talk it through. Sort of when you first look, you're like, okay, I know that course, I know that course, I know that course. But then when you talk it through, you go, oh yeah, actually that bit will be great. Oh, okay, what are we going to do there? And yeah, it's I'm pretty excited. I wish it was next week. It's 2 weeks away.
I'm good with 2 weeks off. I need 2 weeks off. I'm good with 2 weeks off. Well, everybody's favorite part of the show, it is fashion time. And the garage pick, I absolutely love this. If you haven't checked it out yet, I've kind of been underwhelmed with a little bit of the level unlocks so far. The first one was really great. And then I got these like silly glasses that I was like, are these like 3D? Why isn't the whole world changing? This looks like 3D glasses from going to a movie or something, but whatever. That was my level 53 unlock. And now level 55, the rear view mirror. Anna sent this to me and I was like, that is sick. I absolutely love this because it's a little something that just it's an accent but it's an accent that's undeniably unique. You will obviously see this on someone.
Yeah, now if you tune into my Twitch streams when I'm riding, you'll see now that I often go to camera angle 0 and go, what is that person wearing? What is that? And I'll actually take these screenshots during the event. Sorry, that's my daughter, if you can hear her screaming her head off. I'll actually take these pictures during that ride, and then this is what we've got for our picks. So this is courtesy of Kate Spicy, though, because I saw it in a ride and I couldn't get to my camera quick enough. Now, the cool thing about these glasses is, yes, they look pretty rad on you, but if you're riding behind them, which is what I was doing, I was in I think a Coco Cadence ride, and I was looking at a rider ahead of me being like, what? Why can I kind of see myself? What is that? And it was this mirror, but I couldn't see it until I camera angled 0, went to the front and was like, whoa, they've got a rear view mirror that if I'm riding behind you, I can see, and I can see myself. It was so cool. I loved it. Just from a spectator point of view, it looked cool.
Wait a second. So does this actually have a function in game for the rider then too? Did you ask and see if the level 55 has some sort of rear view addition now?
I don't think so. I think it is just aesthetic. So I think when you're riding behind this rider, you can see it. You can't necessarily see like a great image of yourself, but you can see that there's like a reflection of something in front of you, which is what got me really confused because I was like, what is that? I don't think it's adding functionality that you can rear view. I think you still have to hit, camera angle 6 for that. But yeah, it looks great. And I think it looks great because it's on the rider, it's okay, but it's as a spectator with that rider, it looks really cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, our jersey pick, well, not my jersey pick. This is Anna's jersey pick of the week. This is going to be, and it makes sense for where we were racing as of recently. And this is the Fuego Flats jersey. And Anna wrote a MEH in parentheses, May next to it on. Is this like, how is this?
Meh.
Yeah, meh. Yeah, I know what it means. I was just kidding. So, but like what? Why is this your jersey pick? I mean, is it because we were talking about special segments? Because last week we asked you to bring in, have you found any special segments that are different from the others that are out there, and highlight those out there for the community, because they might not know that, wait a second, what are these jerseys? You have the KOM, the Queen of the Mountain. We talked about the Surrey Hills one. Well, this is something special that you can get specifically on Fuego Flats.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be probably doing a lot of segment jerseys at the moment. So I had an athlete of mine who was out on Zwift and was like, look, I got this weird jersey. What does this mean? I was like, how do you not know what that means? And I actually think people don't know that they get this jersey. Now, I'm also going through from a fashion point of view. I might end up just ranking all of the segment jerseys, because we had that amazing sort of aha moment last week when the Leith Hill KQOM jersey was so awesome. And I was like, oh, these segment jerseys are probably actually all awesome. Unfortunately, no. This Fuego Flats one is not great,
Unfortunately, no.
in my opinion. I really dislike it. I really, really, really don't like it. It's like varying shades of orange that don't look like, it just doesn't look nice together. And then you've got this aqua blue, all these different stripes of different widths. Like, why? What does that signify? Like, what are they? There's just, and the stripes are kind of in weird places. They're on the back of the jersey, but then down the sides of the shorts, not just down both sides. And then you've got this kind of the bullhorn, the typical bullhorn desert thing, which is, again, it's okay, but it's got weird shading on it. So it's kind of like a shaded bullhorn with the color that doesn't match anything else on the jersey. It's a hot mess, man. Hot mess. So this is, at the moment, Leith Hill's number one.
That is a hot mess. I mean, look at the sides too. I'm really getting a feel for what you're talking about here as far as how the colors are meshing, and it definitely is a little odd. Chat, let us know in the comments, what do you think? What do you think if you're listening on the podcast? Let us know, what do you think of the Fuego Flats fastest time jersey? And it definitely looks like a hot mess to me as well, now that you really point this out, Anna. So and I love this idea of ranking because I think you're right. I see questions a lot in game where someone's like, what's that jersey? Where did you get that? What is that all about? And people don't even know, like, oh, if you go and climb Watopia Mountain, you get the mountain goat jersey. You get, if you go and you climb Leith Hill, you get this one. If you do and the volcano has its own. And there's all of these different jerseys for each of these segments that are very specific. Way back in the day, we're going to do the way back in the day thing. The first time that you could get a jersey was a big deal on Jarvis Island. There was a very special one. And then the first time that they started mixing the jerseys up also, that was a really interesting time as well, because they had like a triple jersey. If you, on Jarvis Island, you were able to get the sprint, and then you were able to get the KOM as well as the lap jersey. And if you got all three, it mixed into a triple jersey, right? And like that was the first, like, oh, you can get all these different kinds of jersey, and then you can mix them together. And that was kind of like the kickoff of all of these. Now, I don't know if you can mix anything more than just those three. Can you even mix them anymore? It's been so long since I chased jerseys like that. You still can mix them. Okay.
Well, now I'm going to have to go out and chase jerseys so that I can have it for the segment of the show. But you can, because I've seen a mix of Titans and something else. So you can definitely mix these now. And I've seen a really funny, if you get the Watopia Lap jersey, which is orange, and the Watopia Sprint jersey, you've got that like half green, half orange jersey. Now, look, those are like next level. We'll just stick with the single jerseys for now, because otherwise my training is going to be like this bananas, jersey mashup of just going after everything.
Because you only hold them for 1 hour. So then it's like, how many jerseys can you get in 1 hour?
Oh, God, please don't give me that challenge. So, but I've already started on our show notes, Nathan, a little ranking here. So we've got Leith Hill, KQM currently sitting number 1. Fuego is 0.
It doesn't even get a rank. It doesn't even sit next to. Oh my gosh! Because you know that there's going to be all of these ones in between it, is what Anna's saying there. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
So I'll post these up on socials after. I'll keep the rankings going. I'm sure people have.
So are we going to do a public? Are we going to do a public poll, or is this going to actually be like, what do people think? Eventually, we need to get them all. We got to get them all first, right? So. Yeah, and then go from there.
I think what we'll do is I'll get them all, rank them, and then we'll maybe do a poll on the top 3, and then we'll pick the best segment jersey in Zwift from that.
There we go. Absolutely love it. Well, what is coming up this weekend? We've got the Grand Prix tomorrow for the men, the round number 3, and what else is happening besides that?
Well, I am definitely tuning into that because I got our race notes for doing it the week after for the women's race, and I got picked for the team already. Sarah's women sitting in third, by the way, so we're doing pretty well. But tomorrow's race is just all I can say
Squad
is tune
skirmish.
in. Like,
Squad skirmish, right?
this is yeah. But this is like I think instead of us talking through it because it's quite like when I even read the race thing, I was like, this is crazy and awesome. I think all I can say is just go watch it because you're going to be like, what? This is racing on Zwift? Like, this is insane. So I'm super pumped. I'm going to be trying to watch that. I start my Flamme Rouge 8-day stage race in a couple of days. So I will be getting ready for that. I've locked in all the times I'm going to be doing. Might have to miss a couple with the Grand Prix. I don't want to be too tired, especially seeing what the racing looks like. But yeah, that's kind of me.
When you use, I love the term that you use when you say full noise. It's full noise. Like that is what squad skirmish is. It's full noise, everybody. It's going to be, I'm looking at it right now and you're right. I'm not going to go through. I was thinking about mentioning what it's all about, but 3 races, different lengths, but bam, 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 over and over again. It's going to be awesome. Absolutely awesome. Tune in tomorrow, everybody. For me, I am probably going to try and stay very disciplined and organized for my training to try and go into Iceman. I'm still I'm watching the weather though, because if it gets into the like freezing temperatures, like literally under 0 degrees Celsius, under 32 degrees Fahrenheit, like I just usually don't perform like well at all. And so I'm watching the weather while also training, and maybe I'll just take this training into round number 2 of ZRL as well. But I think I'm just going to do maybe tiny races, maybe lactate tolerance reps, one of the two, and then just hopefully a KISS 100 race on Sunday for fun because I absolutely love those. So that's what I'm looking to do this weekend. But that's going to be it for us, everybody. Let us know what you're going to be up to this weekend. Maybe we'll jump in with you. If you're doing the tiny races, let us know. Make sure to tune into the Grand Prix tomorrow. Or if you're listening to this later, make sure to watch the rerun of it and check out the racing the following week for the women because it is something brand new you've never seen before on Zwift. That's going to be it for us for show number 14. You can catch us again on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We have been live for the live show, as well as if you want to download the audio version of this, you can find it anywhere that a podcast can be downloaded. Just search The Wrap, Zwift, Anna Russel Nathan Guerra in the search. You should be able to find it pretty quickly. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you next week for show number 15. And as always, everybody, ride on.